how has building a community like Creator Camp changed your life?
It's honestly changed everything, for sure. I think like a few years back when I was back at home, kind of the story goes, I had done my freshman year of college. It was during COVID. And then I took a gap year, and I decided to take the year off that next year. And so as all my friends kind of went back to college, partied, found their new lifelong friends, I was kind of stuck at home in my childhood room, still making videos, whatnot. It was a very lonely time. And in a sense, I think, like, I literally remember sitting on Snapchat, like, watching people at parties, and I'd be like, damn, like, what am I doing? Because I still hadn't gotten that college experience, right? I was making spoken word videos and positive mental health themed videos on TikTok at the time and running a brand. But, you know, all that sounds great, but it was still a very lonely thing. And so, long story short, I'd reached out to some people online. We'd realized that we could meet up, and camp changed everything, and building communities changed everything for me, because I think it gives an opportunity to solve that problem or help someone else out who might be out there alone making videos, and maybe, you know, they're not going to college, maybe their friends are going to college, they're kind of feeling the sense of FOMO or not fitting in, is to create like a safe haven for those type of people and to connect them together. And that still gets me super excited. So I feel like it's given me a sense of more purpose in the world of how do we connect these people and bring them into this family or community.
That sparked a number of thoughts, but I think I'll lead with this one. I dropped out of school a year and a half ago, and at the time I used to make videos in college with all my friends. And so it got to a point where I didn't want to leave college unless I had a good reason to. And the good reason was that I was staying up till 2 a.m. every night editing videos. And it got to a point where the thing that was being sacrificed was sleep. And I don't think that's healthy. And so I left school, and I thought like, oh, I'm going to have so much more time to create. But what really happened is I had a lot more time to create, but I lost my muse, which my muse was the fact that I lived with my friends at college. And I realized that I'm actually not that passionate of a creator. I'm more passionate about people. And so when it came to making videos alone, it was really, really unenjoyable. And the other thing I realized is like back in high school, the reason I looked up to YouTubers was because I was kind of more of a depressed, lonely kid, and these YouTubers felt like my friends. And so I wanted to start YouTube to make other kids feel the way that these YouTubers have made me feel. But there was two issues. Was one, that the YouTube videos I used to watch they weren't in style. They like vlogs aren't the thing. It became all about spectacle, all about beastification. And so it felt like I want to be this light that these YouTubers were to me, but that format doesn't even work. That's what I felt like. And I left school and I just felt so alone. And that's when I found Creator Camp. And it was funny because I never got recommended any Creator Camp video. Not your video, not Ryan's video, not Chris's video. I ended up seeing Chris's Forbes video because someone of my friends posted on their story. And I was like, there's a whole world where people are making content that feels like that content where, yeah, it made me feel less lonely. And I remember a couple of years later, I started to sort of enter this world, and it was the day that I would have graduated. And all my friends had their caps and gowns on, and I didn't have any numeric success like you. And I remember feeling really sad, not because my friends were graduated, like I'm so happy they graduated, but it felt like those caps and gowns felt like 2 years of memories that I chose not to have. And I texted Chris, and Chris, who for the viewers, Chris is Simon's co-founder, he said like, you sacrifice now so you can have an exponential life later.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting because on one hand, I so strongly agree with what you said, because now I'm here at base camp and this has been one of the best weeks of my life. And I know that most of my friends from high school will never experience anything like this.
Yeah.
But on another hand, I don't agree because I don't like the idea of success being in the future. That I think whenever you say like, if I get 1 million subscribers, then I will be happier. If I get my dream house or my dream car, or if I make a banger video, I will be happy. And so it was just kind of interesting. And I know I'm ranting right now, but the Elliot Bisnow's a author and entrepreneur we look up to. The quote that shattered my life. This guy knows billionaires all over the world. He's been on the craziest adventures. He's one of the most successful people I've ever heard of. And someone asked him on a podcast, what is the best part about being an entrepreneur? And this guy bought a $40 million mountain when he was 25. And he said, the best part about being an entrepreneur is having co-founders. And it made me want to quit YouTube right that second. Because although sometimes people would appear in my videos, all of it was alone. I would plan it alone. I'd film it alone. I was the main character. I would edit it alone. And pretty much I was the only one who cared how it did. And I was just like, I don't want to... If you generated 10 million subscribers for me right now, but this was my process, I would not enjoy this. And so I switched to the podcast because at the very least, I could share this with you. Long-winded way to say, what has having co-founders meant to you?
It's really interesting because even through running my brand Keep It Wholesome in the early days of everything, I've always had a really hard time of hiring or sharing this thing with other people. And I realized this recently. I've really had a hard time grasping or empathizing or feeling the idea and believing in the idea that other people can care about this thing as much as I do. Like even camp, for example. I think when seeing some of the workshops, seeing Janice and Jeffrey's workshop, it got me really emotional because I'm like, damn, they care about this thing as much as I do. And that's still a weird thing because I can never be in their shoes. I can never be in your shoes and feel like the emotions you feel towards camp, right? But I've always struggled with that. And I think having co-founders, it kind of helped me break through that. And I'm still working through it. But the fact that, hey, you don't have to do this alone. Same feeling you're talking about in terms of this gets a little easier when you have other people. Obviously, it's really difficult overall to work with other people, or maybe this is all your baby. You have different opinions, diverse thoughts. But at the end of the day, that's a great thing. I think initially working with different co-founders, they're some of my closest friends now. It's made me appreciate doing things together with other people a lot more. And in that same vein, you feel extremely tied because you're held together by this belief in this one thing, this one project, this one idea. And that's been a really powerful thing for sure.
It's really interesting. And I love that you acknowledge that you can't put yourself in someone else's shoes. Danny Miranda, who's a podcaster I look up to, he once told me X Factor is a reason someone watches your content and a reason they come back, what you have to offer them. And he told me a good X Factor is something that people will share without your involvement. So I hope that people share the word soul wealth and what it means.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I find myself outside of camp, and even with Chris specifically, so often I just want to tell people about Creator Camp. I'm just dude, the other day, this girl, who's another YouTuber at STSU, I mean, she's just making little dorm tour videos, and she's do you know, she sent me a screenshot of Chris talking about Creator Camp on LinkedIn. She's like, do you know this kid? And I was like, oh boy, do I know that kid? I'm I'm gonna change your life. But that's what camp gives you. It gives you this friggin' light where you're just you're just wait till you understand. And with that thought,
that's so interesting. I've always thought about that, this video that recently came out by this director Wesley Wang on YouTube, and it was so freaking good. It's everyone is sharing that shit around within the first 30 minutes. Everyone knew about it, everyone DM'd him. And it's stuff like that where make something or make an experience or make whatever, everything so great and personable and put so much care into things that they have no choice but to share it with 5 of their friends. And if you do that, I truly believe, whatever you're doing will end up impacting a lot of people and doing great.
Wait, just so they can watch that.
Yeah.
It's everything.
Nothing except everything.
Nothing except everything on YouTube. Yeah. Life-changing video.
Very impressive.
I don't know because I haven't watched it, but
you gotta watch out.
Everyone's telling me this.
Yeah.
You know why I think camp worked? So I can't remember the statistic, but something like 95% of people's first companies fail, but camp's been and hopefully will be successful.
Yeah.
And to me, it seems so obvious because I heard a Thomas Dazier Yes Theory quote that said, or Matt Dazier Yes Theory quote that said, I think most people become a creator because they don't feel like they fit in their world. Whether their world is the little high school they go to or their home and with their family, like for some reason they don't feel like they belong to who they're surrounded by. So they go, I want to make a world for myself online. I'm going to start making these videos, attracting my community. And, people can gain followers or they can not gain followers, but and oftentimes we look at these people with lots of followers and we think, oh, like this person's got lots of friends. They're famous, they're DMs, but in reality, what they do is they got lots of time at their computer working all the time. And sometimes creators with lots and lots of followers are some of the loneliest people.
Definitely.
And loneliness is already a problem, but I think it's an even bigger problem in the creator world because of that illusion that, oh, these people have friends, but they actually don't. Like, not that they don't, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah. Definitely.
And Creator Camp literally said, let me take a group of people, creators, that are some of the loneliest people on earth and give them a solution. And it's also so interesting too, because I was talking with Nate. Nate is my roommate at Base Camp. I was talking with Nate about how when you take the creator road or you take the entrepreneur road, it feels way less secure. Like at a 9 to 5, as long as you don't F up or there's not huge company cuts, that your job's going to be there. But you can be hot in the algorithm one day and you can be cold in the algorithm the next day. But I was thinking recently, I actually have this like confidence that it's going to switch. I have this confidence that office jobs or we'll call them regular jobs, which aren't bad, but I have this confidence that they're going to be the less stable ones. And here's why, is that I think AI is rapidly approaching, and most office jobs live primarily in Google Sheets or through algorithms, computers. And so I think that they're going to get optimized. That AI is going to enter the creator world. It already cuts up podcast clips. It writes scripts. But the thing that's gotten worse and worse since the dawn of AI is depression, is lack of community, is lack of love, is loneliness. And so I always tell people, like, in the short term, I feel much less stable because a creator job is much less stable. But in the long term, I feel really stable because the goal of Soul Wealthy is to reach the lonely, is to reach the depressed. Yeah. And that's what I love about what you're doing. And I actually think that in a way it is stable.
Yeah, I've had to think a lot about that since dropping out of college, in terms of like financial security and just like all these questions. Yeah, it's interesting. I think we've seen this in this past year or two, this return to analog, and it's happening in culture in terms of like people, coming back to physical events or like really trying to like, you'll see all these videos like pop off, and there's a reason why they pop off on YouTube. It's like not using my phone for a year, like an update, and it's interesting. I think what's going to be really cool is to see how much, technically in theory, human behavior should affect these algorithms. Like if people start liking more analog, slower paced videos, whatnot, then the algorithm should shift to kind of show that. And I think that's been happening. But yeah, it's interesting. I think we're at a really cool point in time. And Creator Camp as a whole is just a bunch of like 20-year-olds, whatnot, trying to figure it out, because for the first time, in history, we can be able to do this and tell these stories. And yeah, another thought in terms of like the idea that creators all come together because they're misfits in a sense.
Yeah.
Or I had a really good conversation with Freddie here, talking about his history and like how he got into creating. And I'm realizing a lot of people get into creating as a way to kind of almost like heal their trauma or get over something, or it's their escape, right? And that's something that I found pretty consistent through everyone's stories that I've talked to. But what's even more interesting now is I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, if you have to record podcasts, if I have to make videos, if Freddie needs to take pictures as therapy to become quote unquote normal or like be good in the head, how do we get to a place mentally where we don't even have to do that? For example, like a trip I'm going on in December, I'm going to really try to just like not have my laptop, not have my camera, like how can I get to that point where I don't need this form of therapy to be quote unquote normal or be good in the head? And that's like the next leap for me.
That's interesting.